What's up? Today we're going to be talking to you guys about the tools you guys are going to need to put in your Polaris RZR as far as spares go. In the past, we've used something like this. It does have everything we need, all the sockets, wrenches, but in my opinion, it's too big. We have recently invested in the Assault Industries UTV tool bag for the Polaris RZR. Now, this is not an essential part, but this does happen to have every part you need to function out there while you're on the trail. So we're gonna be going through everything that's in this bag. A few things you guys are gonna need. Your T Allen wrenches. These are the ones that look like the star. Polaris uses this on a ton of their parts. You gotta have your T40, your T45, or maybe the two most important. But here I have the T10, T15, T20, T25, T27, T30, T40, T45, and T50. On the other side, we have an Allen set. This is a very basic Allen set, has all the sizes. Then over here we have our wrenches. Lots of times people think like, oh, I have my sockets, so why do I need the wrenches? There are lots of places on the Razor a socket and a driver won't fit to. We have all the sizes, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And then this bad boy, the only thing that you're really gonna use this for is to change a CV. That's the only thing that this tool is gonna be used for. We have a 1/2 inch socket driver and a 1/4 inch socket driver. They go along with my set here that has all of my sockets that I need. Range anywhere from, this is a 13/16. It has every size all the way down to the smallest, an 8. Now, I don't know about you guys, but oftentimes I've run into opportunities or situations where I have a little itty bitty driver and I have a little itty bitty nut, but the nut is super, super tight. And that's why this comes into play. You can use this, put it on here like so, and then you can use a smaller drive to do that. This also is an extender in many cases. You need to get into somewhere and then be able to ratchet it, and you can't do that if there's just the driver on the end or just the socket. I would highly recommend you have a larger driver like this because it makes things like changing a tire significantly easier. You have a lot more leverage. You can even stand on it, which is something I recommend. When you're changing it, you stick an extender on there, put it on the socket, and then you can stand on it. It makes changing it really easy. This right here is not the #1 thing you use to fix something, just so we're all on the same page. These things can be tricky, they can get bent, they can get broken, and sometimes, no matter how hard you push, pull, kick, or punch, it's not gonna come out unless you have a hammer. There's lots of things that just a little tap will fix, and others that, we've bent arms, we've bent all sorts of bars that construct the machine and things that connect to the wheels and tires and all sorts of different places that sometimes a hammer will not fix it, but it will get you, back to your trailer, back to your cabin, back to your house, wherever you're going. So highly recommend it, having a hammer. I have more times than I can count hit something with a rock way too many times because I didn't have a hammer. I would recommend having a pair of pliers or these clamping pliers like so, because there's tons of instances or tons of scenarios where you need to be able to grab, pinch, pull, in places where your fingers won't get. We have a pair of needle nose pliers, which are super important, and a pair of these tension pliers. And for those of you who don't know how this works, this screw on the back here loosens it up so that as you tighten it, this is actually larger. So that when you loosen it up, you tighten it a little bit, then it actually clamps around my finger a lot tighter, and it can actually be used, ow, that hurt, it can actually be used to change something like a bolt if for some reason you're missing the socket. On top of that, always like to have a crescent wrench. This can help in tons of different scenarios, close it tight to pry something. And then I use a very standard sized Phillips, that'll fit into most places. Very standard sized flathead screwdriver. These two obviously are some of the most basic tools, but oftentimes they're overlooked. Get into a scenario where you're like, oh my gosh, you would think that everything on here would be a bolt or a socket or a nut, and all of a sudden you need a flathead. So make sure you have those two. Super important. You guys, this is what you need for your days out there on the trail. Don't go out and get a bag that's too big. This stuff easily fits into something as small as my Assault bag. I would totally recommend getting this. There's also tons of other companies that put together their own toolkits that have similar, if not the exact same tools. There's also the way to go of getting your own bag, going and buying your own tools, and you put it together exactly the way you want. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, in some cases, it's better because it's your bag, your tools, and you know exactly what you got. So for me, I love the Assault bag, but for you, you gotta do what you gotta do. Thanks for watching. Good luck out there.